What's going on, guys? Bexio back, and today we had a brand new video on Bitcoin and how it could be gearing up for a nice, massive move coming soon. And there's a lot of things pointing towards that actually happening. But before we jump into that, if you are not subscribed, make sure to smash that sub button because we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So let's jump right into this price chart of Bitcoin right here, and we can see we are barely above $50,000 right now, but we are above this descending channel here. So we'll see if we get kind of tomorrow when the market opens. Usually Bitcoin is a pretty good indicator of the market, and when Bitcoin's going up, usually the market opens green, and things can continue going up from there. But we'd be looking for Bitcoin to get above this level, 50,000, basically 50,500, and then have it, if it's going to get rejected here and not get over it, then bounce off of it. Could go even as low as $48,000, $48,735 to confirm to get above this trend line here, this downward trend line that we've been stuck in for quite a while now. And then getting above it is obviously number one. Then staying and getting above 50K, which we are barely doing right now. See how it goes. And just went under it right there. But 50K is a base, like, psychological number to get by. And then going to 53,000 to retake some key levels like the $1 trillion market cap and getting short-term traders in profit. That's something that just needs to happen, and a lot of analysts and everyone's saying that needs to happen to continue things. But for some news for Bitcoin, a lot of good things still happening, like you see this right here. Paraguay to look into adopting Bitcoin as tender. Goldman Sachs CEO indifferent to cryptocurrency. Jamie Dimon, I believe, is the Goldman Sachs CEO. I could be wrong with that, but he has always been against crypto, always been against Bitcoin, and continues to be against it. And it's going to be nothing. No one cares. One person doesn't like Bitcoin, join the club. But Paraguay looking to make Bitcoin legal tender. So El Salvador did legal tender first, and then everyone was saying that, it's just a small country, all this stuff doesn't matter. But this is what opens the doors to other countries. Paraguay right now looking into it. We have, I think, Guam's looking into it. We have Panama, I think, is looking into it. A bunch of these Central American countries are looking into Bitcoin as legal tender. They're seeing El Salvador seeing so much success and getting so much attention on a global stage that, implementing Bitcoin is great for everything for a country. And for what we're seeing right now in Bitcoin cities being built, Bitcoin bonds no longer needing to be tied to the IMF. Everything just gets better with adoption of Bitcoin. And El Salvador was the start to that. And it was a multi-year process of people like Jack Mallers and the CEO of Strike and Bitcoiners working with the president of El Salvador, talking about why Bitcoin can be good, why it's something that you should consider, and how everything's going to work and intermingle. And now we're seeing a lot of other countries think maybe we should go down this Bitcoin path. And what we can see right here is exchange balances for Bitcoin hit a 3-year low. So even though we can see this whole line, even though these drops in price, there hasn't been a lot of increase in supply to exchanges. People aren't really willing to get rid of their Bitcoin. And what was the price on this drop here? Was like 3,000. This was like the COVID crash. It was crashed to $3,000. That was the peak on exchanges. This massive rally, and we see it go down, and then the crash, but it spikes, but nowhere near where it was before, continuing moving down. People are taking Bitcoin off exchanges, holding themselves, not interested in trading it or selling it. So it's just something to keep in mind there, where 3-year low balances it just shows people, and whales especially, buying Bitcoin, holding it, not wanting to get rid of it. So this is still bullish. Even though the price moves down, we saw like the price move down here, this spike, the price has been moving down here, no spike, continue dropping, that people are buying the dip. And a big thing that nobody seems to be paying attention to, everyone's calling for the end of the bull market at the end of this month, and it's just going to a bear market. But we look at lengthening cycles that every single halving the cycle has been lengthening. This blue one is the first cycle you see barely lasted over 200 days, maybe the 300, 250. And then this orange one, the next, much longer than the first one. The yellow one is the next cycle, much longer than the one before it. And we're basically at the same place where this third cycle peaked. And a lot of people aren't taking into consideration the super cycle type theory. A lot of people think it just means it blasts off to $1 million of Bitcoin, but it's also where the market is maturing more, and there's not going to be these blow off tops and 80% drawdowns. It's just matured more. People aren't selling on these gains, and I mean, it's not going to go up 10,000% in a few months or anything anymore, but it still makes great gains. People are interested in holding it. And you can tell by just looking at these different cycles and the lines. You can see obviously the difference, like massive spikes again to another spike. And this one's the most similar kind of to what we have right here, where you can see like these rounding kind of tops here, but it still spikes. But that's what a lot of people and a lot of analysts looking at is we might go into, instead of having massive spikes up and down and bear markets and things that were affected by the halving, where miners had much more control of the supply, we might look at kind of rounded peaks and rounded bottoms, and just kind of going to break away from the cycle and just go into its own growth period, because miners no longer have that massive control over supply, and they're no longer the main ones selling supply to pay for things. They can actually be publicly traded and get money from the stock market itself, and go from there. And this is why, because today, obviously 4/12 today, this was tweeted, and 90% of the Bitcoin supply, 21 million, has already been mined. So the halving is not going to have as much as an impact on Bitcoin, on the price dynamics, on anything going on that a lot of people want it to have, because of the big, massive blow off tops and falls down. You can't just say it's going to continue happening like that. The 90% has been mined, and 10% is going to be mined over the next 119 years. So this is how it was designed, and the market is maturing to a point where Bitcoin is going to be this asset that people buy, hold, trade, go off of maybe some sort of news cycles. It's still very reactionary to things, and it's going to go away from this 4-year cycle of the having massive implication. It's still going to be somewhat important, the having, because it's going to cut the supply in half that's coming in, and if demand stays the same, price has to go up. But it's not going to be as drastic as what it used to be. And just to end this off, we have the funding rates for perpetual swaps. These are these future contracts that have very big effects on short-term moves in the market. But you can see these rates still positive, so they were negative. They kind of mixed for a little bit, and now they're back to kind of positive, but not as high as they were before. But this predicted here shows that they might be getting back to pretty much where they were before. So that's kind of shows the market more bullish and everything, but also could be opened up for another drawdown, like long squeeze instead of a short squeeze. But I don't think we have that much massive longs outstanding on Bitcoin. Matter of fact, we can take a look at the longs and stuff on here on DataMish and see almost 32,000. And we might have to get used to a higher number of longs, because going through this like blowout of longs, just clearing this leverage, if they're still open, then they didn't get cleared, and for whatever reason, it shouldn't have had an effect on the downward price. Shorts are still pretty high, but you look at these charts and longs drastically down, starting to trickle back up. Shorts, obviously kind of the same story, but longs doing a slow trickle back up. We'll see if there's some sort of taking advantage of these longs or anything that happens, where if a whale sees that they're too over levered, they go dump the price, buy shorts, dump the price, make a bunch of money, buy a bunch more Bitcoin. It's a possibility to see it if people get more greedy and continue to stay greedy in the leverage market. That's going to do it for this video. A lot of things going on in Bitcoin, kind of things that aren't really impacting the price short term, but are definitely looking long term good for Bitcoin, and long term is where you got to keep your focus on, because anything can happen in the short term. As always, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. See you guys in the next